I was at the BBC for many years. I left a couple of years ago, although I do go back to do training of BBC journalists. I spent nearly 30 years in radio and television in the United Kingdom, and I worked in the main at the BBC, but also at independent television news, ITN, which is the main commercial rival to the BBC. And it's, you know, the BBC is a great place to work. It has very high standards, it has very good resources, and it has a number of radio and television networks that broadcast to the UK, but it also has an international audience, so it has real impact in journalism. I've done media training in Malta. It's great to be in Latvia. It's a few years since I was last in Riga, and it's a really great city to be back in. And in the United Kingdom as well, of course. When you work in a field for so long, you kind of think, I know this inside out, and you start to think other people do, but in reality they don't. It's only because you've been working in that field. And so it's kind of nice to share some of the thoughts about how television and radio works and help people who are not used to facing journalists, not used to going in front of the cameras, just to give them some tips on how best to do it. Doing with media training is you're just sharing some of the thoughts of what happens in studios and how journalists approach interviews, and you're helping people really just to deliver their best. You know, we think a lot about what we say, how do we answer questions. There are other things though. There's body language, and people get very nervous before interviews. They need to know how to relax, they know how to project the best image of themselves. So it's an interesting discussion to have with people, and moving between the two sides, it's easy. I find that sense of humour is an interesting one. I have to say that I'm dealing in the English language, and when English isn't somebody's first language, it's not so easy to be funny or crack a joke or to get a joke. And that interests, but it interests me generally, culturally, how humour works. Some people are very comfortable with humour, cracking a joke, saying something funny, and it's an interesting way to answer a question that an audience will find appealing. Some cultures, it isn't natural to do that, and you have to accept that different cultures, different people. The thing to do is to challenge people. So we do mock interviews to help people deliver their best, and it works well. I find when I do, particularly my first interviews with them, that I don't give them an easy time. I try and make it as difficult as possible. And the reason for that is because they need to learn how to cope with difficult journalists, and it's good to go in at the deep end, and they learn from that.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you very much.